Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Visibility Era. It's Bridget Cisco and Lydia Bagarosa, your hosts, and today we're doing something really fun. We just spent like literally an hour writing down our notes, but this is going to be a cool episode because we've been really thinking about reflecting on 2023, and now we're starting to think about 2024 as a business. And we started to realize that we have all of these kind of trends and forecasts in the PR and media space, and we just wanted to share them all with you as our listeners. So if you are watching this live, definitely say hi to us. If you are listening on the podcast, hello and welcome. So, hey, Lydia, what's up?
Hello, I'm so excited to do this episode. We just dove deep and had serious conversations about everything that's happening next year as it relates to the media, but also we realized that a lot of, I guess, the business and global climate of what's happening, the market, has a lot to do with what's going on in the media industry and in business. So there's going to be some cool, I guess, crossover on what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so the way this is going to work is we have like 6 or 7 things that we're going to share in terms of our PR forecast. And then we also just finished creating our 2024 trending media calendar, and we're going to give a little sneak peek of every single month of the year, and we'll give you one story angle or story idea based on what's current, trending, relevant, timely, newsworthy, so that you can leave this episode with some ideas for your own business on how to pitch the media. So it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. This is honestly our trending media calendar should be your Bible for next year. If you're looking to grow your business outside of social media, which everyone should be doing, PR media really focuses on legacy building mode. How do we get in front of bigger audiences, our ideal audiences, and grow from that place, which is such a sustainable place to be. So these are the best trending angles that you can really capitalize on next year. It should be everyone's Bible. So anyways, listen to this episode, download the media calendar. We're going to put it in the show notes. But we are going to go through a lot of different topics related to that today too. So it might actually just get your wheels turning when you're ready to start reaching out to the media in general. But
One thing I've noticed too about using the trending calendar, because we did this last year too, is that it also gives you content ideas, right? Because if you understand what's going on and what's relevant in the market, what people are thinking about and focusing on, it can also influence what you're sharing, with your public. For instance, like behind the scenes, it's about to be 2024. So this is the perfect time for us to release something like this, because we know, because we're doing it too, as business owners, we're starting to think, where are we going to set our sights for 2024? What do we want to do for each quarter? And we thought this would be the perfect thing. So let's jump in with number 1, which is all about product placement. So I feel like you can take this one away.
Yeah. Ooh, sorry.
You're good.
Sorry. I switched over to Facebook and it started talking to me, and so I heard you twice. Anyways, this is just the hey guys, this is just the tech things of what happens when you're going live in your Facebook group.
It's also Mercury retrograde.
Yes. Oh, I've had so many little weird blips, and normally I'm like, okay, Mercury retrograde, but anyways, it is a doozy this month. So thanks for staying with me, fam. And if you're not a part of the Facebook group, join our Facebook group, because we go live in there constantly doing episodes, doing workshops. Anyways, let's get into it. Products. So for number 1, one of the media forecast items is product PR has been a little different than other types of PR. There's been a boom in affiliate marketing, which we know everyone wants a piece of the pie. They want to get paid with, TikTok shop and all of these different things, and people being able to advertise on their personal pages. There's affiliate links everywhere. Same goes for the media. So there are 3, to understand this, there are 3 major publishing houses. There's Condé Nast, there's Hearst, and there's Meredith. Those 3 publishing houses own most of the magazines that you know. And so with that being said, Hearst is mostly doing affiliate marketing now with product. So they're only covering products that are sold at major retailers because they get paid or they have some sort of affiliate program that they're doing on their own. So the publication gets paid per click. And with that, it's become kind of difficult to enter these different big publications. It doesn't mean that it's impossible. I've had product clients throughout the years, and it's increasingly gotten a little bit more difficult, which is why a lot of like businesses are going on to Amazon. So if you are like an author, for example, it's good that you're on Amazon. Or if you own like a product company, you might want to look at the storefronts. But I do know that Amazon is expensive. So there are other options. There's places like Skimlinks. There's another one called Share a Sale. These are affiliate programs that you can do on the back end. So you can kind of cut out the middleman. So you wouldn't necessarily have to pay Amazon. You would pay a rate that you set yourself through these different publications. And that serves as almost like the same way. So you just like let the publication know that you're on them, and then they will set it up on their back end. And that makes you more likely to get featured on these publications. But there are other publications underneath the other houses, so Condé Nast and Meredith, that are not really doing affiliates. So we were talking about this because we're like, what can we tell you to help you since this trend is happening? And what we were talking about is we've noticed, and Bridget can talk about this too. We were talking about it pretty extensively before we got on today, but personal brands have become really important, or increasingly more important. People don't want to just know like what are the best products to buy for Valentine's Day for your significant other. They want to know like what ingredients are in the products. Is it safe for you to use? Like whatever. Or maybe they want to know their values. Like I know we were actually talking about this the other day, like Starbucks and Dunkin' both sell pretty decent coffee in my opinion, but it might be more of a status symbol to buy Starbucks versus Dunkin', or you might have a different community. The Dunkin' community might be more like chill and fun or whatever, as opposed to like the Starbucks community. So it's people are buying into places because of values, because of personal brands. So we were talking about how it may be of a benefit to you if you are a product-based founder to go onto podcasts and share your story. And so getting like kind of what's the word that I'm looking for? Just creative on how you can get your business out there. If you are finding it difficult to get onto, the big publications at like Hearst or something. So like Cosmo is under Hearst, Oprah is under Hearst. So those are some options, because I think a lot of it is also like a delicate dance between like how much money you have so you can actually invest in these affiliate programs versus like doing them first to get on the publications. Like it's like what comes first, like the funding or the publications or the exposure. It really depends on like how you can budget. So
this is so interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't really know that this would be happening behind the scenes, right? If you're just a consumer of the magazine, like you would have no idea that there are basically deals going on to get featured. And it's almost like pay to play, but not.
It's like not. It's like a sketchy way that they're doing it. I'm telling you, it's just because the affiliate marketing is so big right now. Like everybody wants a piece of the pie, and publications, they're not really doing well with print. Like print is dying. And so when a lot of those magazines had to fold, like Oprah only prints 4 times a year. It used to print every single month. And so it's like, how are they making their money? They're making their money through affiliate marketing now and like ads.
I think the important thing, if you are a product-based founder, so you have a candle company or a skincare line, is that you being the voice of the brand still has massive, massive benefit. And we were saying before we got on, like Lydia has shared on the podcast before about It Cosmetics and the founder that she listened to, and like really hearing her story and being like, oh, I really like this. And I was saying that there's a podcast that I listen to that doesn't normally have like a lot of guests on. And she normally has like very like metaphysical, spiritual guests, but she actually had the founder of a product company, and it was like a all natural skincare line where she like started making the products in her own house and like telling that whole story, which allows someone to kind of buy into the emotional component of that, which is definitely lost when it's just like, here's the top 10, skincare lines of 2023. So I think what's important for anyone listening is that you as the founder become the voice, become the face of the brand. And you don't need to be like this super public person, but to still have this professional representation where there is a face, there is a human behind it, especially as we move into like the time of AI and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the idea of the It Cosmetics example, just because you don't see the founder like on the packaging.
Right.
You don't see her even on the end caps when you go into like Ulta or Sephora or wherever they are. I think they're in Ulta. But she does represent the brand still, and still is able to share her story about the background of the brand on podcasts without being like so forward facing. I
Yeah.
wonder if you like went on the website, if they would even have the founder like front and center. I doubt it. So there are options, because I think a lot of product based companies, they get nervous. They're like, oh, well, we're not a personal brand. It doesn't really make sense. But since we are moving into this era of like people wanting to know what they're actually buying into, it's just becoming increasingly more important to have some sort of voice. So maybe it's your like vice president or something that is going to be the one that gets interviewed, and it doesn't necessarily need to be the founder.
This is interesting because it perfectly goes into number 2, which is all about experts and personal
Mm-hmm.
brands. And, we didn't talk about this before, but what you were just saying, Lydia, reminded me of that. They're almost like 2 points of entry, right? There might be a product company who starts as like just the products, and then they realize, okay, the founder should also have a voice and be a little bit of a face of the company. But there are also the opposite happening with more of this like a creator economy and these personal brands, where the personal brand and the founder of this YouTube page or this Instagram account gains a lot of trust from their followers,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's through what they're sharing, they're them being interviewed on podcasts, and then they decide to open up a company, and that everyone already has the trust of the founder. So they're far more likely to buy the products. And I've shared this example before with Bear Performance Nutrition, the BPN company, and the founder is Nick Bear, and he has this like very public YouTube page where he's talking about the products, and he's running these marathons, and he's working out, and he's doing all these like cuts and stuff like that. And that's the case where like he was that brand figure who gained the trust of the people in his audience, and then also had a products company which was able to sell all his supplements and
Yeah.
protein powders because he already had the trust of the people, and that's definitely going to continue.
Yeah, that's going to continue. And speaking of experts in general, as it relates to media forecast, experts are just increasingly more important because of what we're talking about, but also there are certain industries that are booming. And so if you're an expert in these industries, I think that you should really, really, if you haven't dove into PR, start capitalizing on these opportunities, especially if you're a business owner that knows your business is going to be around for a while and you're really looking to scale, nurture relationships, and get in front of larger audiences. Like, now is the time. So we were just talking about like what's been happening in the world. And so like COVID was a whole thing, right? And that conversation around health is not going away, it's continuing. And so if you are in a health related field, any conversation, it doesn't have to be around COVID, but just health in general is like a big conversation. So this could be any experts related to MDs. Bridget was talking about even like feminine care products, and she can talk about that. But MDs or psychologists or neurologists or whatever it is, nutritionists, like people are just more interested in health in general because we had that global scare. And so wellness is booming along with the traditional health model. It's just that whole industry it's increasingly just becoming more of a thing for experts to be seen and heard, and for people to be able to have more content so they can make better decisions based on what they're interested in as it relates to health. So health industry, what other industries are like booming right now? I mean,
We also said Eric and I, my husband and I, are getting our real estate license. So we've been really like following
yeah.
more of the real estate market. And obviously it's interesting with the interest rates, they are going to lower them in 2024, but I still do think like the cost of living is high for most humans, especially in this country. And I'm sure, other countries around the world. So I do think like the DIY, the home improvement, the interior design, like all of those industries are going to continue to do well because less people might be moving, but they want to improve their house and make it nicer for what it is. So I think that is a big one. I think being like a chef and the whole like behind the scenes of like what it actually looks like to make beautiful food, I think that's going to continue to grow. There was another one I just thought of, but it completely
you said too, and you
left
didn't
me.
even realize it. So real estate, like those conversations I have seen so hot since like COVID era when basically like what rent skyrocketed. And then we had the housing market inflation. And now we have, now it's becoming more of a finance conversation because we had inflation and we're having a dip in the market. So there's just a lot of conversations that are happening around what's going on in real estate, what's going on in the market, how do we budget in a time of inflation? Like, I've noticed a lot of conversations around like how expensive like college is. I don't even know how much it is. Like, I bet it's changed and gotten like so much more ridiculous since we were in college, Bridget, which is crazy.
Probably.
But like, yeah, so I've seen a lot of like career advice columns. So anything where you know the conversations are happening, those industries, if you're an expert in any of those, like now is your time to really dive in and share your voice and your message. There is an audience for it. Absolutely.
It's kind of like that idea of a tailwind. Like, obviously, whatever business you have has the potential to grow if there's the right market and people want it and all of that, and you're solving a problem, blah, blah, blah. But there's definitely this opportunity for a tailwind if you are, an expert in an industry that we just talked about, where the media is looking for your commentary and your advice on, big topics that are happening. So I think that's a really good one. Okay, the next thing I want to share is I think that there's going to continue to be this rise of kind of like behind the scenes. And I'll explain what I mean by that. There is such a rise in this age of information. We can access information anywhere. I can research anything, how to start a business, like everything. So I think what we're going to continue to crave as consumers is why? Like, how does that happen? Why does that happen? Right? We're craving these deeper conversations because surface level, we have the access to that information. Now we want to know why. And I even think about like the intro to Alex Hormozy's podcast. He's like, I always looked up to people like Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos. They didn't detail their story or their journey. So I'm here to do it, right? So the behind the scenes of actually growing a business and like running a company and the highs and the lows, I think that those types of conversations are going to continue to grow. And why does this matter from a PR and media perspective? Well, that's the story. Right. So anytime you can get on a podcast where you are giving your long form story of how did you start this business, like we are going to continue as consumers to love those conversations. So if you are a business owner or a founder or CEO and you want to continue to grow your company, well, you have this ability to share some of that behind the scenes. Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, yeah. And you had mentioned this earlier, but like even you mentioned the rise of the age of information and how there's just so much out there. And so with that being said, like back in the day, there used to be more conversations that were like the best products to buy for Valentine's Day or like the best like foundation that you need for this. And now because there's so much, we are becoming smarter consumers. Yeah. And so we really want experts to come in and tell us why it's important to purchase this product or why the ingredients in this one is better or why we should have this, candle in our house instead of because it's coconut wax instead of one that is soy and why soy is not a thing anymore. Like, it's just all these different conversations where there's so much choice. So now we're getting into more of like what resonates for us. And so I think that that's exciting because it's actually creating more catered content for your ideal audience members. So instead of just blasting out like, these are the best foundations, and it's like we have a mix of ones that are eco-conscious and ones that are organic and then ones that have more like toxins in it or whatever. It's so catered because now we're having experts come in and tell us exactly why. And so your ideal audience member is going to come in and see all of these different items and be like, oh, this all resonates with me, I'm in. So I find that super interesting. Actually, we could like talk about this forever.
No, it's a cool time. And I feel like also with everything that we're talking about, we kind of mentioned it before, but we do see PR support is going to be something
Mhm.
that's increasingly important. I know like we've talked about this a lot of times on the podcast, but I was reading something and it was someone kind of complaining, right? They were like, I put so much time and effort into creating this reel
Mhm.
and it's just not getting the same reach that it used to. And I've definitely seen that for myself. It is very frustrating because you had seen the results previously, right? You had, put up this piece of content and it was really valuable and you spent time, doing your research potentially or figuring out exactly what to say so that your audience would enjoy it, picking the right, music, whatever it is. And it's just not landing. So what does that mean? With that frustration, people are going to continue to look at different avenues to get
Mhm.
visible. And if you're listening to this, like you are ahead of that curve because you are basically committing to, okay, what would it look like for me to begin getting on more podcasts or getting my voice on local TV stations? What would that look like? So if you're already thinking about that, you're ahead of the curve. And this is going to be increasingly important. People are frustrated with social media and there is still a time and place for it. So like Lydia, what would you say about why social media is still important?
Yeah, so social media is important because I look at it more as like your business card. If we're looking through the lens of a business owner on social media, I think it's almost like a business card. Like you need a presence. They want to know what you do. They want to see that you're there, right? But it's not where you're going to be gaining your new followers unless you are an influencer or like your new clients, unless you're an influencer. And I was talking to Bridget about this earlier, but to me, social media sometimes is like, it kind of reminds me of like gambling. Like you're going to go to Atlantic City. We're from New Jersey, so I'm going to, of course, reference AC over Vegas. I'm like, AC. You're going to go to Atlantic City and you're going to continue to put your money in the slot machine, hoping and hoping that it hits. And then before you know it, you're out of money and it never hit. It's like the same idea. If you were thinking about time is money and we're spending all of our time, which we could be earning money, right? All of our time on these social accounts, just posting and posting and hoping and hoping. And it's like, how long are we going to do that before we realize that that's not really the best use of our time? So, when to me, if I were looking at growing my business in a specific way, I would be looking to get in front of community members, in front of bigger audiences that are interested in what I'm sharing instead of throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks, you know? So with PR, basically what you're doing is you're nurturing relationships with your audience members without outwardly selling. So this is where you can get interviewed on a big publication. Number one, they trust it. So they're going to be like interested in you right away. Because if you're featured on Forbes, they're going to be like, okay, like I'm interested. I want to listen, right? Or I want to read. Then they get to read about your expertise or why you are the expert in your field. Or if you're on a podcast, you're speaking in front of thousands, and that lives on the internet forever. This is SEO based. Like Instagram is not SEO based. So you have lots of different avenues for people to find you. And then you get to be in front of a trusted audience. Like they trust, if you're on a podcast, you're already going to have these listeners' attention for at 30 minutes or an hour or however long the show is, because all of those fans, it's so interesting. Like podcast fans are so dedicated. So like they're going to listen even if they don't like you. So that's a lot of time that they could convert to a paying customer. So we just want to think about like what is sustainable, what makes sense, what's going to really help us grow and take our time back. Because at the end of the day, like for entrepreneurs, and I've been noticing this more and more in myself as I'm growing, as we're growing, as our company is growing, but like time truly is money. If I'm spending my time like posting on social media and I'm not talking to the people that are going to buy into our programs or invest in our programs or be partners with us, I'm wasting money.
Hmm. And this kind of goes into the conversation of where is the right place to put our time and attention. And we see it as kind of like a two-pronged approach because we do still think from a PR and media perspective that getting that shiny media logo, putting it on your website, saying that you've been featured in Mind Body Green, in some of these bigger publications is really important. But we do see that there's going to continue to be a rise in these smaller, more engaged, high trust communities. And this might be through an independent publication or an independent magazine. Like I see T is here Taylor, who is the editor-in-chief of Brown Style magazine. And that's a great example of, a tight-knit, independent, beautiful publication that's putting out incredible content that you still have this ability to get the reach without going to, some of these quote unquote top tier publications.
Right. So what we were talking about is like just I wouldn't sleep on the blogs or on the newer maybe publications or ones that are not necessarily as big as say Oprah yet or Forbes yet, because a lot of them still have really dedicated audiences, and the way that many businesses can grow are through communities and capitalizing on those communities that are really catered or very much like an ideal potential client for you. I was like, oh, this was interesting. So I invested in this new like podcasting software. So you guys know I'm also a publicist in addition to a media educator at Visibility on Purpose. So I'm right there in it with you, pitching all day. And I pitch podcasts a ton, and it still blows my mind sometimes when I see shows that I personally think I'm like, oh, they have like 20 reviews. Maybe it's not that big. I see some like cool guests, but like maybe it's not that big or the reach isn't that big. And then I'll dive into their stats and they have like 4,000 listens per episode. And I'm like, holy shit, like that's big. That's a lot of people. And that's a lot of catered fans. So it's just blogs and yeah, I mean, like Substack is becoming really popular now. Like everyone is on there. People are paying to be on newsletters because it's the exact information that they want. So we were just talking about this too, but like we've noticed, and I think that a lot of business owners are noticing this trend, but like because we are the news increasingly, right? Like TikTok is becoming a thing. We have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have all these different places where we have our own community members. There's so many little like groups now where the people can like really sustain in each group. And so with that, it's not to sleep on it, just not to sleep on these groups is what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I feel like I even found this for myself when, I started getting myself on podcasts many, many years ago, not really with the idea of like, this is a business growth strategy. But what I learned really quickly was it opened me up to new networks. And when you can get yourself in front of curated, high trust, new networks, it is one of the best things that you can do for your business. I mean, that is why people join BNIs. Like that is why people join these high level networking associations, because they know that relationships will never die. And, I think as we move into the time of increased technology, these types of relationships are even more potent and more powerful. So yeah, to do kind of that two-pronged approach. Yes, we want to be on these bigger platforms because that name does have a really high level of influence in the marketplace. So to not negate that, but to also be thinking about, if I were to get on a smaller show, quote unquote, smaller show, could this still expand my reach, beyond what I might have thought? So I think that there's going to still to be a continuation of growth in that area.
Yeah. I mean, the industry is just changing so much. And it's like, how can we just stay at the forefront of everything? How can we stay creative and notice what's happening and allow ourselves to evolve along with the industry? So, of course, we still want to be on the big names, but like allowing ourselves to go into different areas is really smart right now, too. And especially in 2024.
I think the next topic that we see in the media and PR forecast is that there are going to be, we've already seen it, there's layoffs in big companies. And, Lydia's seen this from the big print magazines and publication perspective, that they are laying off writers and stuff like that. So what does that mean? We have more freelancers. So yeah, why don't you talk on that one, Lydia? I feel like you have better stuff.
Yeah. So over the years of being a publicist, I have seen layoffs because print publications are folding or they're like merging print and digital together. So it used to be that there was like just print editors and then just digital staffers. A lot of publications have merged them. So now they're doing both or whatever. And over the years, it's just been, especially with what's going on in the financial climate, like they're just laying off. They're trying to have less spending, right? And so I actually think that's almost a benefit in our sense. And the reason why is I love working with freelancers. I feel like they're more open to story angles because they're the ones pitching. I also think that sometimes it is an easier access point to get into the media because they're not just working for one publication, they might be working with multiple. So if they like your story and they pitch it to Mind Body Green, but Mind Body Green says no, they may go over to Well and Good and pitch it there instead. So because typically a writer person interested in a column, right, or interested in like an industry, they typically will only write in one specific industry. So it'll be a wellness writer, and that's what they're interested in. They like to talk about, nutrition and diet and whatever. And so they may be pitching to many publications at once, but still in that topic. So that gives you, 3 opportunities instead of one. Whereas when you approach a staffer, you have one shot with that pitch to really land a opportunity at that publication.
Yeah, I think everything that we talked about already is, interesting to see, and there's always a potential challenge, but a potential positive for all of it. Obviously, like we're not for people losing their jobs,
No.
but there's also yeah, opportunity, and we do think that there's going to be this rise of entrepreneurship as more highly qualified people potentially get laid off. That is going to be an open door for people who have a lot of experience, who have a lot of knowledge, who know what they're doing to potentially do something on their own. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, over the next year, kind of where we go. So did we hit on everything, or are we ready to go to our trending calendar?
I think we can go to our trending calendar. So again, we're only going to drop like one topic per month. You have to download the whole thing. Again, this should be your Bible. So download the whole thing and have it. But these are topics that are great to capitalize on in each month. So we're just going to like riff off them. And timely, let's just like talk about why this is important, like why timely calendars. So I love how Bridget always says this. She's always like, she always says timely, relevant, and newsworthy.
And interesting is my fourth one that I've added.
Yeah, and interesting is what the media focuses on, which is true. There's evergreen story angles, meaning like you can always talk about, certain things related to your business. Like we could always talk about why the media is important. Okay, that's like an evergreen topic. But if we wanted to get specific, we might want to talk about trending story angles for 2024, and that's something we can talk about in January. So see how that's like very exciting for them to cover, because it's something that is timely and that is relevant for the now. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about those like articles, story angle ideas that are going to definitely at least hit in those different months.
All right, January. So, okay, what am I going to pick? I think New Year, New Me is like the most obvious one, right? So if you are in the health and wellness space, if you're in the fitness space, if you are a healthy chef, and you can think about ways that you can bring that type of information to a writer who's doing stories on New Year, New Me. Like, we have a client who is an Ayurvedic practitioner, former occupational therapist, and we were helping her work on a story angle. This is like, you do want to be timely of when you're doing these pitches, because they might have already be writing these stories or have these things prepared, which we already have in the guide, so don't worry. But we were helping her figure out, okay, how can we kind of weave what you already do into what's going on New Year, New Me? What are people thinking about? So we did like, what's the anti-diet? Like what would it be to make an actual lifestyle change and not just at a 21-day, like what's it called? Resolution or whatever it is. So there are ways that you can be really creative and clever. So January, New Year's angles, mocktails, cocktails, New Year, New Me. I think that's a great example.
Yeah, I love that one. Anything that's focused around like New Year's resolutions is going to hit. I mean, I've even like created a list for myself already. So even talking personal. Okay, so February. Let's see. There's so many good ones. Okay, I'm just gonna go classic here. Valentine's Day is in February. So if you are a product-based company and you have anything related to something that could contribute to Valentine's Day, I would pitch it. Here's an example of one that actually is kind of outside of the box that I pitched for a company back in the day and it hit. So I used to have this wipe company as a client, and they were for your butt. Okay. Wipes for your butt, but they were trendy and cute, and they had cute packaging. They were sold at Target. Anyways, around Valentine's Day, I pitched it to sex editors, and I pitched it as a cleanup tool for Valentine's Day, and it hit. So thinking about just like outside of the box ideas, and so that's like one that's just outside of the box that I wanted to share. But other things could be like, say you're a candle company, so it's like setting the mood for your Valentine's Day dinner, and the ideal candle for setting the mood, or like the ideal candle for snuggling up next to your loved one on Valentine's Day. So, another one is you could do Galentine's Day types of vibe, or even self-love around Valentine's Day is really cool. So these are a bunch of different topics as it relates to Valentine's Day, but could you see how each one of these angles has so many options? So we give you like, I don't know, I want to say like 4 to 7 per month, and then you can really, really expand from there.
That's so funny. That's such a good one.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was good. That was
My
good.
butt wipes turned
Yeah.
sexy.
I mean, I would open that email. Butt wipes turn sexy.
It was really fun. I wish that I remembered the subject line, because I remember I just like thought it was so funny. I was like, oh, this is gonna hit, and it did.
Oh, that's good. Okay, March. So March, we have obviously like St. Patrick's Day, but I'm going to go with International Women's Week. So, a lot of our listeners are female founders, high-level executive women who are running these companies, and they're doing it because they care, right? So this is a really great time to potentially get on a podcast that might be doing this, to get in some sort of magazine that would be talking about women in business and what they are doing. And if you have like a social entrepreneurship business where you have like a give back campaign, I think that those are going to continue to do really, really well. Like, I feel like Tom's was like the first type of company that like put that concept on the market. It was like, buy a shoe and we pay 15%, or like we'll give 15% to like this charity. I think that those types of businesses are going to continue to do well. And like International Women's Week, ladies, this is for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What was the thing? It was like, if you bought a shoe, they would donate a shoe to a kid.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Tom's, what a great idea.
Tom's.
Yeah. I wanted to say something else about International Women's Week. I just think in general, like if you are a woman that has a business that has any sort of ties for even like being like an immigrant or something like that, and you want to talk about your culture, that is also an option, in addition to giving back and all of these. Yeah. So I think like the best thing to do in use of this calendar too is like, say you select this topic, typing into Google like International Women's Week, and just seeing what publications are writing about, the stories that they're covering as it relates to that topic will also give you some ideas. So another way to use it. Okay, so let's go to April. Okay, I'm reading through. I'm going to select cleaning, organizing, recipes, and new goal setting opportunities positioned to springtime. So everyone knows it's spring cleaning, right? That's the like little tagline for spring. We're getting ready for summer. We might be transitioning our winter attire, our winter decor, and switching over to spring and summer. So there's so many options here. It could be spring cleaning, it could be organizing, it could be setting up your patio, it could be recipes that are related to, seasonal ingredients. So there's so many different options here, and for so many different industries. Like I just named like real estate, home decor, nutrition, chefs,
baby company. Like there's one in New Jersey that I've been. Seems to be like in the same network, and they basically go into people's houses who have a bunch of mess, like the hoarder kind of level, and they clean it up. So think about how that would do in that time of the year when everyone's thinking of spring cleaning.
Yeah. Oh, such a good one.
Okay, we have May. So I'm going to go with, what's really interesting is that there is a day for everything. In this world now, there's like probably, like international like popcorn day. So yeah, there are some of those like smaller days. But May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. So if you are a therapist, a psychologist, if you work in the mental health space, there's a lot of opportunity there for you to be a voice during that time of the year. Think about what writers or even TV segments might be producing content on. You would be a valuable voice in that conversation, because remember that the media works together. It's such a synergistic, co-working, what's the word? Not crowdsourced relationship where you're both helping each other out, right? So this writer has this idea for the story. They're going to pitch it to the magazine where either they work or, they're a freelancer, and they're going to pitch it to a number of different magazines. And you get to be the expert that actually helps kind of add value and pad up whatever they're writing on. So if you are a healer, if you're a therapist, if you have work with specific modalities like EMDR, or what's that other one? Is it ASMR? Is that a thing too? The sound one where it's like,
oh, I think that's what it is.
Anywho,
I'm like, is that the right abbreviation? What does it even mean? I don't know. If anybody's listening and they want to let us know, that'd be great.
I have no idea. But anyway, May, National Mental Health Awareness Month, that could be a really great time for you.
Yeah, that's such a good one. June. So anything related to June is Pride Month. So anything related to Pride is a great story angle. Actually, I saw an interesting angle last year that it was kind of like the opposite of what you would think. And I thought it was such a good conversation. It was getting so many articles on it. It was companies coming out and saying that they don't necessarily agree with the companies that are doing the token Pride Month thing, where balloons, hello. It's so funny. My camera is very clear right now. I got a new computer, and so it reacts to, it doesn't matter what platform I'm using. We're using StreamYard right now. We could be using Google. We could be using Zoom, and my camera will just release balloons when I'm doing quote marks or something. And I talk with my hands because I'm Italian. Anyways, back to Pride Month. So I saw a lot of people coming out and talking to publications about how they don't think it's right that certain brands will only post about Pride Month, will only post about Pride anything during Pride Month. So out of nowhere, they'll have a campaign come out where it's a picture of maybe two gay guys wearing their clothes, and that's they're participating in Pride Month. That's what so it was really, really interesting because they weren't showing their support all year round. It was they were just trying to get, the media's attention for that 1 month. So this is where, and I'm sharing this story to share that there's other ways that you can approach these topics. It doesn't have to feel so traditional or in a box if it doesn't agree with you. So anyways, yeah.
Right. No, that's a really good example. It's there are all these days now, right? So it's should women only be celebrated in March during that 1 week?
Right.
So that's kind of the anti-campaign, which I do think it's this idea of inverting topics and kind of showcasing the opposite. I think that's a really cool way to think about pitches as well, because what's everyone doing and how can I actually potentially divert from the norm?
Right. So we were even talking about, all right, I'm going to release one more. We were even talking about dry January, but what if we were to just talk about being sober, curious all year round, or just being
That's a good one.
Right. Why are we just, or somebody else, actually, our client that we were talking about, the Ayurvedic practitioner, she was talking about how she didn't really want to do a new year, new me, health related topic. And we were why don't we just pitch these are actually sustainable lifestyle practices that will last longer than the New Year's resolutions typically do. And so there's so many different ways that we can actually do these. And something that Bridget and I talk about a lot in Pitch Party is we have a section where we talk about what are the topics that you want to speak on? Because that's where we start expanding on our pitch angles. And from there, we talk about how you can actually use those topics to those broader topics to make a ton of different topics. So there really is endless pitch angles that you can go along with, or ways that you can position yourself.
I feel this is what the trending media calendar, it helps me at least with, because sometimes I need that spark of inspiration to then create all of those sub ideas. So I think that's what this does really, really well too.
Yeah, totally. So let's go to July.
Okay, so we're in July now. I'm trying to pick like not the most obvious ones.
I know, because there's so many. It's
There's so
like,
many.
yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do like the whole travel thing. So we have one that's stories related to travel, vacation, family getaways. So if you have a travel company or travel brand, and maybe you provide some sort of product to help people, like one of the best things that Eric and I ever bought was like this backpack that packs into nothing. Right.
Yeah.
So that when we're traveling, like say we're in Europe and we only brought carry-ons, we have this little backpack that we can expand. Right. So if you have some sort of travel related product or a travel related company, if you have an Airbnb, this is the time when maybe more people are traveling to your area, especially if it's like nicer weather wherever
Mhm.
you are. If you have a real estate company where people are thinking
Airbnb.
about maybe moving to your area. So think about what's happening during that time of the year. More people are likely to go on vacation because their kids are off from school. And this is definitely like US based. But you have to think about, okay, what would magazines be writing about? They might write about the top getaways in this area. So if you have an Airbnb, this could be a great time to get that property on the map.
Yeah, yeah. Gosh, I have a hilarious story. Last week, I thought it was hilarious because I was like, haha, it's working. Last week, one of my girlfriends was like, it was her birthday recently, and she's like, oh my gosh, do you want to see my new wallet? I'm obsessed with it. I'm so excited. She shows me it. I used to do PR for this company, and I'm like, I was like, oh, wait, you love them? And they're cute, but they're like not my style. And she was like, it was just so funny because she was regurgitating back to me like the exact pitch angles that I pitched for
That's
this
amazing.
company. And I was like, get out of here. So I used to pitch it as like the minimalist wallet. And it
Mm.
was this wallet that used to only have like 3 slots, and it also connects to your keys. And so it was a minimalist wallet that you could travel with. That's like how I pitched it all the time. And it got into um, Travel and Leisure magazine, which was like a big one. I was so proud of myself for that. But anyways, it just like cracks me up because this is like these pitch angles and story angles also plant seeds in your customer or consumer's minds of how they can use or why they should use your product. So I share this to say, if you are, if you have like, this is again expanding your ideas, like products that you could potentially even use in the travel time. Like this calendar is just a guide. It just gives you ideas for other ways that you can even talk about your products or services, which is so fun.
I love that. You actually took the words like right out of my mouth because I was going to say, what you send in these pitches is such a great representation of your values and the way that you talk about your
Yeah.
company and talk about your brand, like why you do it. And that's such a beautiful reminder that this person, this consumer is now regurgitating, what was put out publicly
Yep.
by the brand or by those publications. And that helps create this imprint in that consumer's mind, which obviously stuck. So that's a
Yeah.
great, great example. I
It
love that.
was so funny. I was like, oh my God, 3 years ago, I would have been able to give you some like free wallets.
Right.
I'm like, no more. Maybe they'll want to come back to me. Who knows?
Yeah.
So August, let's see. Okay. Stay with me, folks. Stay with me.
Do the books. We have authors.
Okay. Okay, that's right. Okay, so books, authors, brands related to books for National Book Lovers Day. So, okay, all authors out there, burp, 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 if you didn't know, there are book editors. So, if you go to different publications, I'm pretty sure like Pop Sugar has them, Refinery 29, some of these like big, like Bustle definitely does. Some of these big, like trendy news publications, they have writers that specifically talk about books or specifically talk about journals. And so would be a great opportunity for you to not only pitch them, which you should be doing all year round anyway, but pitching them on a specific angle having to do with National Book Lovers Day. So maybe you pitch them as an author, saying like, as an author and as a lover of books, here's X, Y, and Z, or however you want to do that. What I would do again is go into Google, type in like a National Book Lovers Day, and just like see what people are talking about for that national holiday.
I love that. Also, I feel like book clubs are something that are like in, like they're kind of like cool. It's like are you in a book club?
Reese Witherspoon's book club.
Okay, yeah. See, like I live under a rock, but I feel like even like these smaller
Yeah, smaller ones.
community ones too. So that's interesting. I don't know why I was thinking about that, but that's cool.
It's related. Makes
It's
sense.
related.
Yeah.
Okay, September. So I'm going to go like a little bit more generic on this one. It's the beginning of fall. So what are we thinking about from a business owner perspective? So if you have a company that maybe you're even like a parenting coach or you deal
Mm.
with kids, how to navigate going back to school with your kids. Think about what's going on. What are people purchasing at that time of year? Okay, we're going to get all those fall candles. Maybe you have like a candle line that's pumpkin spice. Maybe you sell some sort of like decor that's like sustainable where they're not going to go to Home Goods and it's just been like produced in China or something like that. So we're
Mhm.
thinking about what's happening during the fall. What are people buying? What's the buying habits? What are people thinking about? Maybe I'm going to be harvesting my crops for the last time and I'm going to be making some delicious fall recipes. So if you're a chef, beginning with those fall recipes and introducing what you're doing to some editors and writers.
Yeah. So thinking about just who does this really well, like who comes to mind when you think about fall?
Like Yankee Candle.
Okay, what else? Come on. I know you're going to say it.
What else?
Actually, maybe not because it's you.
Starbucks?
Yeah.
Oh,
Boom.
okay, fair.
Starbucks has absolutely slayed on this angle. They're known for their pumpkin spice latte. Every single year, Starbucks is getting like the most like press ever around fall, right?
Wait, and
So
there's not even pumpkin in their drinks.
what
Like
is
I
it?
looked at the ingredients, it's like it's all like natural flavor. So it's like not actual pumpkin. Like there's no
So
real pumpkin.
I don't understand how it makes it taste like pumpkin.
Because the natural flavors, so there's food scientists and they're just gonna like extract the pumpkin flavor and put it into foods. Okay, don't quote me on any of this, but I'm pretty sure that there's no someone fact checked me.
Yeah,
Fact
I
check.
mean that makes sense. Like, I don't know, all their drinks scare me. I'm not really a I'm not really a Starbucks girl. Literally scare me. I'm like, this is not good. Let me just tell you, I have not drank Starbucks in forever, and I drank a Starbucks coffee recently, and my heart was racing. Like, I didn't even finish my cold brew, and I was like, okay, I don't think that Starbucks is made for my body. But anyways, they do release new drinks around the fall season too. They're always like releasing something around that time. They know that it's a time for them to capitalize on the media, so they do. So just thinking about like if you are a company that's like candles, for instance,
Mm.
and you come out with like a new scent every fall, or you're known for a certain scent, like these are just things that we can also even think about. Like PR is so interesting and media exposure is so interesting because not only does it help your consumers understand like what it is that your values, what it is that you do, what it is that you sell, right? It helps with all of those other things. But these types of media forecasts or calendars also help inform you like maybe what you should be releasing. Like
Mhm, mhm.
internally. Like there's just so many connections when it comes to PR, marketing, advertising, sales. Like they're all best friends. I always joke around, they're all best friends. They all hang out together, which is why everybody mixes them up all the time. And that's
True,
okay. I get it.
true.
Yeah.
All right, October.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna go generic with this one, like Halloween,
Halloween.
obviously, right? We do have a decent amount of spiritual clients, and so this one, if you want to capitalize on any fun little like witchy things, I would definitely pitch something around Halloween. Last year I did a good witch pitch. It was about manifestation, like spells, but it was like talking about being the good witch for Halloween and like some fun witchy rituals that you can do that'll bring you abundance this Halloween season. So they again, fun ways that we can capitalize on the times and like spin it in a way that makes sense for our brands. So
Mhm.
and then anything related to like Halloween colors. Oh, if you're a makeup artist, like this is a great time to get some press. Like I love looking at the Halloween makeup looks. They're so much fun. There was an artist that I followed on Instagram last year, and she did a different Halloween makeup every single day and released it on Instagram. Like such a commitment. But like that's how you get featured.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
good one. Gosh, imagine
Mhm.
like taking off your like all that makeup every day.
No,
I'm like so lazy for that.
no way. It's a commitment. They love it, you know?
It's so true. Okay, November, we are almost done. Which one do I want to share? I'm gonna go a little different on this one. So again, going back to that, there are many a calendar day throughout the year. There is
Mhm.
a World Kindness Day in
Mm.
November, which most of us probably don't know much about. But when we talked about earlier, like some of our forecasting predictions for 2024, mental health, wellness, all these health topics are going to continue to grow because people care. People are struggling with their mental health. So this type of content is going to continue to be spread out. So if you are, this is like a really great one for like the wellness coaches, the healers, the therapists, anyone who works in the mental health space. If you are a social worker, even, you could provide some great commentary for World Kindness Day about inspiration, gratitude, kindness, wellness, all of those types of things. And especially I'm thinking back to when we did a positivity day at a middle school. And the reason that they brought us in for that day is because they were dealing with all this bullying in their school. And all these kids were being really, really mean to each other. A lot of it was because of social media, which is really, really unfortunate. But social media is going to continue to be there. So how can we navigate around that? These types of conversations are going to continue to be, part of the world.
Yeah. So December, I am just going to talk about everything that everyone talks about in December, which is gift guide season. So there's how many different types of holidays. This is the holiday season. And gift guides are very, very big in editorial. They are like prepping in like midsummer and sometimes even earlier, like print. They might be prepping in the springtime for holiday gift guide season. So that also creates lots of opportunities for getting featured. So for product-based companies, like you want to go hard on gift guide season. Like do not sleep on this because there's so many different angles that you can take. But what I also want to mention is, since we're talking about holiday season in general, just going back to like the mental health piece, if you are an expert talking about like de-stressing around the holidays, anything related to mental health is going to also be a huge opportunity for you. So that's just for like both product and for service-based. But last thing I want to mention is the way that you actually use this calendar is, these are all topics for these specific months that we're mentioning, but you don't pitch them in the month. You pitch them a month to a month and a half prior. So if you are super excited about this, which you should be, and you use this calendar and you listen to us and you have it as your Bible on your desk, just remember, if we are pitching for January, we've already been pitching deep as December 20th, which is when we are recording this. So just remember that that's really important. And then some publications will even do, I see one of our friends for Brown Style magazine was saying 3 months in advance. So it really depends on the publication. They all have different editorial calendars. So just being really mindful of those once you start creating relationships with these media contacts, a lot of the times you'll get the gist of like who is where.
Yeah, and I think that that's definitely really important for editorial. What I found with podcasts is they tend to follow a little bit less of this type of calendar-y schedule, right? It's gonna depend on the content that they normally put out, but you're definitely going to see probably some less podcasts doing calendar-related things. So I would say that these are really great for editorial and TV, but it again could depend on the show.
Yeah. It depends on, excuse me. It depends on the show for sure. There are some shows that I've seen, record an episode and 2 weeks later they post it. Or there are some shows that batch for 6 months and then they won't accept any guests for the next 6 months. So it really, really depends. But my recommendation is, if you do want to be featured for a very specific month for whatever reason, or a very specific holiday, like say, you really want to be featured for Book Lovers Day and you're releasing a book and this is like important to you, you may want to start pitching them like many months in advance to get that seed planted in their minds, because a lot of shows probably have an idea of when they want to be posting episodes. They might even have batched episodes. So I think just being really prepared in advance for podcasts will very much be in your favor.
So if you've listened to this whole episode, first of all, you are a OG, amazing human. If you've been here this whole time, but this was a lot of information, but super helpful. So if you've been listening and you want to get the calendar, just grab the link in the description of this video or this episode. It's at our website, visibilityonpurpose.com/freebie. So it's really simple. We have a little video like going over how to use the calendar, but definitely be sure to share this with, friends, other entrepreneurs that you commingle with or co-work with. I think that everyone needs to get their hands on this. And, Lydia and I are very committed to the fact that there is a huge education piece with business owners and with founders because they don't really know how to do this themselves. And that's really where we come in. So we just want to thank you all for listening. Please share, rate, subscribe. We have a huge goal to share this and grow this podcast in 2024, and we definitely need your help to do so. So very grateful for all of you being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, guys.